Shutdown day 3, and there's a lot of talk going on in Washington. Unfortunately, it is accusations, not negotiations, to end the stalemate. And in this hour, we are joined by Congressman Peter King, a Republican from New York. Congressman King, thank you for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
You have been outspoken in your opposition to your caucus's tactics. And the question is, would you vote now to pass a clean CR?
Absolutely. I've said that now for several days I would, which is why the other night I voted no on the rule to send the bill over to the Senate, which just prolonged this all this craziness. No, I would definitely vote for it. I would vote for it in a heartbeat.
You've also said that a number of your colleagues, moderate Republican colleagues, are ready to vote as well, that they would welcome a decision, in fact, by Speaker Boehner to bring this to the floor. How many votes at this point do you have?
Well, again, it's not a question of me having them. I know there's 25 have publicly said that they would vote for a clean CR, as we call it, with no strings attached. So it would definitely pass the House. The question is, John Boehner is under tremendous pressure from the Cruz Republicans not to bring it up. So we just can't wait for this to be put on the floor by the Speaker. We're going to have to force the action. And in some ways, that maybe makes John Boehner's job easier. I think if 20 or 25 of us say we are going to vote no on everything until a continuing resolution is put on the floor, that's how you get results. That's what the Cruz Republicans threatened to do. They said 2 or 3 weeks ago that they would, in effect, bring the House down unless we attempted to defund Obamacare and tied it to a government shutdown. So I think it's time for tough action.
It's a blunt question that may be following on that kind of tough action. But yesterday in a meeting, Speaker Boehner held with your caucus, he said, quote, "Trust me." Do you trust Speaker Boehner?
First of all, I have a great respect for John Boehner. I trust him that he's doing everything that he possibly can. I just don't think the Cruz Republicans are going to allow him to do what he wants to do until too much time has gone by. I think we have to force the action here, and by doing that, I think we strengthen John Boehner's hand against the Cruz Republicans. In
your colleagues that you've been speaking with, did they share the same feeling?
They share the feeling that this is insane, that this has to end, but some of them are reluctant to force the action right now. I say we have to force action. That's the only difference is a question of timing, that's all. We all believe it's absolutely wrong what's happening.
Just a couple of moments ago, President Obama was in Maryland at a construction company wanting to highlight the impact that the shutdown is having on everyday Americans, and he called out a colleague, Congressman Marlin Stutzman of Indiana. I want to play what he said.
Well, they got exactly what they want. Now they're trying to figure out how to get out of it. Just yesterday, one House Republican said, I'm quoting here, all right, because I want to make sure people understand I didn't make this up. One House Republican said, we're not going to be disrespected. We have to get something out of this, and I don't know what that even is.
Now, just now, the congressman released a statement saying, quote, "Yesterday, I carelessly misrepresented the ongoing budget debate and Speaker Boehner's work on behalf of the American people." So, Congressman King, what do Republicans want to get out of this shutdown?
I honestly don't know what they want. It started off by saying they wanted to defund Obamacare. Now they realize that can't be done, and it's sort of a moving target. But let me just say this about the president. Yeah, he made a rhetorical point there, and he really wears two hats, in fact. He's head of the Democratic Party, and he's doing a good job as far as making partisan points. And I'm willing to say that we're at this moment now because of Republicans. Having said that, as President of the United States, he cannot stay on the sidelines the way he is. He has to do more than just make partisan speeches. He should be actively engaged trying to end this, trying to find a way to help John Boehner, if you will, get this to a vote in the House. Politically, the president can be right, but the fact is, as President of the United States, he has an obligation to become more involved. I can't imagine Lyndon Johnson or John Kennedy or Ronald Reagan or Franklin Roosevelt or Teddy Roosevelt, who actually came from my old district. I mean, I can't imagine them just, in effect, standing on the sidelines and making the occasional speech. They should be heavily engaged. He should be heavily engaged.
Congressman, let me ask you this. As your reaction to what we've been seeing play out over the past really 24 hours, where it's almost been a personification about this shutdown, whether it be Boehner's shutdown, whether it be Obama's shutdown, has the rhetoric gotten too acidic that there can be no negotiations?
It's certainly more and more difficult to do it, but that's the obligation of leadership. That's the responsibility of leadership, whether it's in the House, the Senate, or the White House. And the president is the ultimate leader. So yeah, he can give all the reasons why Republicans are irresponsible, why Republicans are demanding too much. The fact is, as president, he has an obligation to be in the arena. The president should be in the arena. He should be attempting to resolve this. And if in the end it turns out that he believes Republicans are unreasonable, then make that case to the American people. But right now, he should try to put partisanship aside. Leave that to Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi. He should be in the room. He should be finding a way to end this crisis, because it's going to affect everyone. It's not good enough at the end of the day, if the economy does tank, for the president to say it was the Republicans' fault. Because ultimately, he's the man at the top. He has to find a way to make it work.
Congressman, let me ask you this, because there was some movement in the House yesterday, in fact, almost a piecemeal funding measures, 3 in fact, in which you had voted yes on all 3. Is that a way to fund the government? Is that a way to break this logjam?
Well, I don't think it's a good way to do it. I actually voted against the rule to begin that process because I thought it was a bad idea. Once they were up for vote, though, I voted for them, absolutely, because I think that it's better to have some relief rather than none at all. But as part of an overall strategy, I think we should be trying to reopen the entire government. It gets very, very sketchy when you're opening up this part but not another part. We don't have a piecemeal government. It very much comes together and works together. And to me, that's how it should be resolved. But when the vote does come up, yes, whether we should give money to NIH, obviously, or to veterans, or parks, yes, we should. But it's probably, the lesser of evils is all that's the best I can say about it.
You've been in clear opposition of the Affordable Care Act, of Obamacare. By what process, though, would you see that repealed?
Yeah, I voted against. I'm totally, strongly opposed to Obamacare, as are most people in my district. But what I'm saying is we have to repeal it the same way it was passed. We have to pass repeals in the House, in the Senate, and get a Republican president to sign that repeal into law. We can't do by the back door what we couldn't do by the front door. The Democrats passed it in both houses. The Supreme Court ruled it constitutional. Obviously, the President of the United States signed it, and then he was reelected last year. So that's how we fight our battles in this country. We do them politically at the ballot box. Now that the President's been reelected and it's the law of the land, we have to try to repeal it, not by threatening to shut the government down. But I'm as opposed to Obamacare as anyone could be.
Congressman, let me ask you about this. The debt ceiling limit, of course, is nearing October 17th. And there is talk today about a potential bigger deal that would fund the government and raise the limit. Is that a better option at this point?
Yeah, what I have felt we should have done all along, and I think what John Boehner wanted to do, was get the continuing resolution behind us 3 or 4 weeks ago, and then go right into a debate over the debt ceiling, because that to me is a much more legitimate place to have a real debate about the entire scope of government, programs that can be adjusted, modified, cut back on, also perhaps even have some tax reform in there. That was the venue to do it, and we would have had a good 4 or 5 weeks to do it. Now, assuming that this government shutdown does end next week sometime, then we're going right into the debt ceiling, which is a very rough time to be, a very dangerous way to be negotiating over the nation's credit rating, in effect, to be doing that within a 3, 4, 5 day period. So yeah, I think that's where the debate should be. That's where the discussion can be. They can find some way to even get temporary relief on the debt ceiling and set aside time for real negotiations. That might be the best way to do it.
Congressman Peter King from New York. Congressman, thank you for your time. I certainly do appreciate it.